still make money in this day and age? Let's figure that out. Okay folks, here we are at the Buffalo Airways hangar where all the Warbirds hang out. In fact, actually, funny I say, it's all full of turbines here today with the Lockheed Electra, the Cat, and King Airs. The Warbirds are out working. And why do they work? That's what I want to tackle today. A little bit of disclaimer. Everything I say doesn't really make sense because aviation itself doesn't make sense. And what works for Buffalo might not work for another company. But Buffalo is actually turning 50 years old this May. So my father really knows the fountain of youth when it comes to airlines, because as you know, airlines come and go very, very quickly. That being said, breaking down the discussion today into two items, two very simple items that are maybe a little bit complex if you keep on digging. But let's keep it on the surface, keep it easy. Let's talk about the physical and the financial. So right now let's tackle the physical, because we're sitting here in front of a nice physically large aircraft. Runways, they're small, they're gravel, and they're very far apart. That is something that you can describe the area that we're at. That's a physical limitations. Big airplanes, modern airplanes, have a big issue landing on gravel and short runways. They don't have, distance isn't an issue for big airplanes, but we don't have the luxury of having big, huge airports like a lot of places in the world. That really narrows down, that cuts off a lot of airplanes right there. Any brand new airplane that is a passenger airplane can't really land on gravel. You can look at brand new dashes, but even then there's gravel limitations, and there's not one magical item: cargo doors. So physical limitations is one reason why Warbirds work. They can go far distances, land on crappy strips, and they got big doors to fit items in. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Now, so if you're thinking of an airplane, think of almost any airplane and try to start eliminating airplanes. And one airplane that comes up all the time is a Hercules. There is no Hercs for sale right now. Linden Air Freight in Alaska has got the market cornered on them. So you got to go to Lockheed, buy a brand new one, $70 million. But that's more of a financial issue. We'll get to that in a sec. So there we go. Warbirds are starting to make sense, right? And this morning, William is flying to Uluhuktuk. Uluhuktuk is Holman Island for you old bush pilots out there. But William is bringing up a generator. The reason why is because it will physically fit. Like the Electra, the C-46 has a large cargo door, and this generator fits in a C-46. Now a C-46 going to Holman, that's a long stretch because there is no fuel. We'll get to that in a sec, but that's it. So the DC-3 this morning that you've seen is hauling packages from Hay River. In fact, all my Amazon packages, I got a new monitor for my editing setup. That's an Amazon package that came in on that DC-3 this morning. So that C-46 that was built in the 40s is now flying all the way to Uluhuktuk to deliver a generator because that aircraft can physically do it. It can physically go that distance, it can physically land on that strip, and it can physically take that load. So those things are what keep the airplane going. You can start seeing my thought process. You could take an airplane and say, will it work? Will it work in all this stuff? Could you use a B-17? No, there's no cargo door. Could you use a Lockheed TriStar? No, because it can't land on short runways. Like, you could start eliminating aircraft, and what rises to the top is the C-46 and DC-3. Hey, Dad.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay, so the question I'm asking today is, we already talked about how C-46 can physically do a job. Take me back. What caused you to buy the C-46 in the first place, and why in today's world is it financially benefit to have a Warbird?
Okay, why you buy a 46 when we bought that one is the old adage that, you know, bush pilots who become presidents have a bad habit of buying airplanes they like or airplanes they want to fly. I always had a love for a DC-3, and I always had a hankering to look at that C-46, which to me looked like a big DC-3. When the opportunity came, I knew there was a market here in our grocery hauling and in our freight and courier business. Also at the time, you got to remember, it's 1991. There's also a good market in the mining industry, but there's a slowdown right now. We all know there's a slowdown, so it's survival mode. So I can take that C-46 and we can do all our grocery hauling to our remote communities with their gravel airstrips that aren't as long as they should be some places in southern Canada. But at the same time, I can offer, because of the airplane, I can offer a service that people can afford. If I was to go out today and get a Dash 8 or ATR 42, there's the capital cost, amortization of the interest that would be passed on to the customer, pound per mile. At this stage, I can maintain a viable cost of being northern Sobeys and northern Gateway to Safeway. So for the foreseeable future, as long as we can get fuel, we'll be operating C-46s because of what they can do for the customer, and the customer is, our best interest is in the interest of our customer.
Okay, my father mentioned the fuel, so this is an important thing I really want to touch on very, very quickly, is the scope of influence where a Warbird like a C-46 can work is limited to where you can get fuel, avgas. It doesn't burn the same as a turbine, which burns jet fuel. So if you could picture it, there's a sphere around Yellowknife where you can operate a C-46 because you can get fuel in Yellowknife. And places like Norman Wells and Inuvik, you can also get fuel. But back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, you can get fuel everywhere. There was fuel all over the Arctic. As certain airports decided for financial reasons to stop hauling avgas, the sphere of influence of these Warbirds degraded. And now there's only 3 places we can get avgas in the north consistently, which is Inuvik, Norman Wells, and Yellowknife. And soon enough, Inuvik and Norman Wells will most likely stop serving avgas, which will leave only Yellowknife. On the flip side, you can get jet fuel everywhere. So you're asking yourself, what aircraft can Buffalo Airways purchase to replace the DC-3 and the C-46 in today's day and age? And well, really, I broke it down to basically 2 categories and an honorable mention. So for the DC-3, which is a mid-size combi aircraft, you can get the Dash 8 100 or the ATR 42. For a large cargo door, which the C-46 falls under, you can get a Dash 8 300, you can get an ATR 72, and of course you can go big and get a 737 200. With an honorable mention, I just want to mention that Cessna is making the Sky Courier. It's a new airplane, it hasn't been released yet. Large cargo door and kind of a mid-size aircraft, so it kind of fits in between these 2 categories. So I'll be looking closely at that aircraft. But that, Dad, so what do you think? William's on his way to Uluhuktuk. When's the last time you were in Uluhuktuk?
Oh, last time we really worked out there hard is when the airstrip was the main street of town. The kids all played dodge the airplane when we landed. And the old priest was running up and down the runway with a big stick trying to keep the kids off the runway because they're trying to chase us in the dust. So yeah, it's been a while since I've been there.
Okay, folks, let's do a quick PlaneSavers update. Really, actually, there's nothing too much to update about. We're still waiting on parts and pieces for both aircraft, but I do have a PlaneSavers special treat for you guys all the way from Ireland. So while we're waiting for William to land in Uluhuktuk, let's head off and see Abby and Hannah and see what they're up to.
Welcome to PlaneSavers Ireland. Our name is Hannah and Abby, and we are PlaneSavers. We are restoring a 1947 Luscombe Silvaria with my daddy and granddad and Dermot.
We have restored the fuselage, but we need metal wings. So if anyone has metal wings, please let us know.
Our granddad is very sick, so please give him a big shout out.
We love PlaneSavers, and and super well done on the DC-3.
Hope our Luscombe flies as well.
We hope you like this video.
See you soon. Signing off, Hannah and Abby
Plane
at
Savers,
Ireland.
Okay, thanks, Dad. Okay, so right now I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the community of Uluhuktuk. You guys being amazing and supporting Buffalo Airways the whole time. I hope William has got there. Let's go see how William's doing. Let's see how he's doing in Uluhuktuk right now.